What's up? It's Thursday, thank God. It's time for Invisible Walls here on GameTrailers.com. I'm Shane Satterfield, Editor-in-Chief for the site. Just some housekeeping to take care of before we get started. First of all, we are finally on iTunes, and you can subscribe to the show there, so please head on over there. Leave some comments as well, some ratings for us if you feel like it. Also this week on Game Trailers TV on Spike, we have a huge exclusive blowout on Brothers in Arms, one of the few first-person shooters that is still set in the World War II era. And also on the site, we have a huge user movie contest going on right now for Ubisoft's Haze. It's also done in conjunction with the awesome supergroup Korn. We have Ryan Stevens on the panel today.
A pleasure as always.
Daniel Bloodworth.
Doing good.
Patrick Morales.
Hello, everybody.
And
New
New guy. We have a new addition to our editorial staff. His name is Brooks Huber. What's up, Brooks?
That's right. How you guys doing?
Good. Why don't you give us a quick rundown of your past?
All right. Prior to my stint here at Game Trailers, I've only been here about 9 days so far, loving it. I was a editorial intern for Electronic Gaming Monthly.
Anyway, let's move on with today's show. First of all, we're going to go over the media of the week, where we pull pieces of video from GameTrailers.com and point them out to you guys in case you missed them. Then we're going to have a huge discussion on Grand Theft Auto 4. You know, that little game that just came out this week? Then we're going to have your friend and ours, Grumpy McGrump, stop on in to blow up the set as usual. Then we're going to run through the news. And after that, we'll answer your fan mail in our segment called On the Hook. And after that, we'll be up and out.
Hey! Are you the two snakes who played Dwayne Forge when he was in the joint? He wants his money.
What?
All right, now we're going to talk about some of the hot media that was on the site this week that you may have overlooked. What did you guys see that really struck your fancy?
More like media of the day. I found this one. It was pretty cool about a DS. And this guy was at Safeco Field, the Seattle Mariners ballpark. And what he had done with his DS and what anybody could do is you just kind of plug into the system and you're able to stream live video right there on your DS. So if you're sitting way out in the fans, right, and you want to watch the game closer up, you just pull out your DS.
Well, you know, Nintendo owns part of the Mariners, so I'm sure that's some kind of deal that
Was
they
he
put in
ordering
place.
food too?
And he was
Wasn't
also
that the
able
other
to
thing?
order food and have it delivered right to his chair, so that's just kind of cool thing if you're going to go to a ball.
I do like being lazy.
You don't have to worry about getting up.
I do hate baseball, though. But I like the DS, and I like Nintendo.
So there was a video, like, showing off that functionality?
Yeah, it
on
was
the
a
site?
user-submitted
cool.
video, and he brought a camera with him to the game.
Oh, cool.
And he was just showing the versatility of that, and I thought that was pretty neat.
Yeah. A couple of weeks ago, you guys asked us about Square Enix and spin-offs, and I brought up these crazy little travel guides and stuff. And lo and behold, this week, there turned up to be 7 commercials on these little things that aren't even really games, but they go on your DS. And there's one on wine, there's one on gardening, there's one on taking these big tests that they have in Japan. And they're all exactly the same format. They all have the same woman. And they see her like lied out on the couch on the yoga one, and she's just sitting around being lazy. And then, da-da-da-da! She puts up the box art, and she's doing yoga. And the wine one is my favorite, I think, because it's like, here you are, you don't know what to order at the restaurant, so you're going to pull out your DS
That would be sweet.
to see what wine goes best with your meal? Really? On a
This is why
date,
I
you're going
love
to do this?
Japan.
I'd do it.
Yeah.
If the girl can't handle it, she can hit the road.
But yeah, definitely stop by. And I mean, you know, they're 15 seconds long, and you can get through all 7 of them in a couple minutes. It's pretty funny.
I need one of those on meeting sleep deprivation. So far, the rule book set down by Red Bull is not working out so good.
Yeah. And as if we didn't have enough fighters to look forward to this year, here's another one, you know, from Arc System Works called Battle Fantasia. And I think it's interesting because Arc Systems is actually coming out with 2 games this year, which is Blaze Blue and Battle Fantasia.
That's 6 years worth of publishing for them.
Yeah. And, you know, good company. They've done Guilty Gear and, you know, really good game, very competitive. So, again, 2008 is definitely going to be the year of the fighter.
Anyway, я говорю про капусту. Зачем нужно жрать капусту, если есть картошка?
Hey,
Картошка!
bloody boy! I'd like a word with you.
All right. The time has finally come. Grand Theft Auto is now on store shelves. As you may have guessed from my sleep deprivation cracks, I have been playing it all week. I've got no sleep all week. Everyone here has had a chance to play it. What do you guys think?
I like it.
Yeah?
The first thing I did when I jumped into that game was jump right off the first rooftop I was on. It's funny because that's like one of the first questions I had in my head, like how does this game play? How does it feel? What does it look like to die? Like all these unanswered questions, you know. You've seen the driving, you've seen some of the shooting elements, but one of the things I just wanted to jump into is just some of the sandbox stuff.
Yeah, I think probably everyone here kind of ignored missions because we didn't have as much time.
Well, that's
to
good
copy.
because that's the thing that I haven't really got to do is just screw around because I've been trying to plow through the game. So you guys are going to provide a nice counterpoint to what I've been experiencing.
Well, I can confirm you can definitely run the hell over people.
Oh, yeah. That's definitely in the game.
Oh, yeah.
And it's still a lot of fun. Euphoria Engine's pretty amazing. It's
Yeah.
going to be good in Force Unleashed too.
You fly right through the windshield. Like little touches like that.
I haven't seen airbags, have you?
There aren't any that I've seen.
Because that'd be funny. Maybe that'll be downloadable content.
That's the secret downloadable content for the 360 version.
Exclusive.
Yeah, the physics are sweet, especially for the cars. Like, you can roll up on something and you'll actually see, like, the tire sink all the way to the ground and, like, separate itself from the body of the car. But then at the same time, there's kind of weird anomalies here and there. Like, there'll be a trash can in the middle of the road and, like, you'll roll up on it. Instead of the trash can smashing, you roll up on it like it's made out of concrete.
Well, yeah, I mean, the game's not perfect.
No.
But it's huge and sprawling and pretty awesome.
Yeah, the car physics are definitely impressive, especially if you're like trying to run over something with like a Humvee. Just watching all the tires react to every little piece of car that you're driving over top of. It's pretty awesome.
That's another thing that we obviously like about the game. It's not so much just how great it looks, which it does, but just how much detail they've spent in every little thing. Like if you hijack a certain kind of car, I think it's called the Land Cruiser or something.
The Landstalker?
The Landstalker, yeah. Which is an SUV. It actually has a GPS system in it. So
A lot of cars do.
Yeah. And
The nice cars have GPS, but the GPS actually gets a little screwed up at times. It can't quite figure out what you're doing. But but you're right. Like the attention to detail and stuff like that is amazing, and it's all the way through the game.
Yeah.
Just little touches like that. Just it seems like I'll play it for a few hours and I'll be like, oh, I haven't really seen anything cool for a while, and then something will happen. And I'm just like, dude.
You can touch me a little bit, baby.
I went through the first couple of days I played it. I think I died twice, and that was from like falling off a building, waiting for the camera to like catch up to my character. It wasn't like because the game was hard that I died. It was just some stupid sort of byproduct of the way the game was made.
What do you think of the new cover system, the shooting mechanics? Because I had a chance to play around with that too. I thought it was pretty good, but I think he moves almost too slow at times.
Yeah.
Trying to duck in and out of cover.
Yeah, that's also something I didn't really like in this one. It seems to have adopted that Assassin's Creed kind of unwieldy weight shifting going on compared to like prior games like San Andreas, where you're just moving around.
It's a huge improvement over the old Grand Theft Auto games, but it's been 4 years since Grand Theft Auto came out, so we have all these other examples of awesome cover systems to compare it to. And I think once you get the hang of it, it works pretty well. Actually, it works great. The problem is we've played all these other shooters with these cover systems, and we've conditioned ourselves to do it in a certain way, and they just have decided to do things differently. Once you get your head around it, though, I think it works pretty well. You're right, the running is way too slow.
Yeah.
I don't know why they made his default run so slow so that you always have to hit the A button to run it at a decent clip, but it's just the way it is. And again, it's another one of those things where after you've played it for a few hours, you get conditioned to it. But having to hit a button to run, it just doesn't give you that responsiveness on foot that I think that you would want.
I was actually curious, like, what is your biggest nitpick, though?
Well, I think the melee combat is busted still. The good news is that you don't have to use it. Like, there's the first 2 missions where, like, go beat this dude up at the basketball court. And you go and you beat him up and you never have to use the melee again. Every once in a while you get caught without a gun and you have to use it for a little bit, but it's bad. It's hard to really nitpick that game. I mean, there's little issues here and there, but when you look at what you're getting and what they've done with that amount of time, it's amazing and impressive.
So what's the most batshit crazy thing you've seen?
I think getting double teamed by strippers.
Yeah.
This actually brings up probably what my biggest nitpick of the game is, and maybe it's just a nitpick with America in general, is the game is so violent. And it's funny because the old Grand Theft Autos were kind of cartoony. They sort of, you could almost chuckle at the old Grand Theft Autos because you're like, oh, some cartoon guy's picking up a head, but the head looks like it could be a head of lead. Like, now everything looks so realistic. It's very stark and can be very brutal. There's some scenes in the game where my mouth was just like, whoa, I can't believe they did that. But every one of those scenes, it was based around violence and killing. So it's like you have these horribly brutal, violent scenes, and the fact that you can just do whatever the hell you want, kill whoever you want, however you want, yet you can't show like a stripper's boobs.
How about if we did a compromise where you just violently rip off breasts?
That might be
But they're
okay.
clothed.
That might be. Oh, you could definitely get away
And then
with
you
that.
put them in a sack and you beat people to death.
Yeah. I think my impression of overall of the whole thing is that they're a little bit scared. I mean, after what happened with Hot Coffee, it seems to me that they were very paranoid or apprehensive about going overboard with the sex. To me, it's like if you're going balls out in one direction, to pull it back in the other, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
And then the most important question was, how was the dub radio station?
Oh, it's great. That's another thing. The music in this game is awesome, man. Like, they've always done a good job with selecting music in the past for these games, but in the past it was kind of obvious. It's like you have this list of songs from 3 or 4 decades, and this is the top 20 from each of these decades. So when they put them all on one soundtrack, you're like, oh my god, that's the best compilation ever. You picked all the winners. Well, this time, because the game is set in present day, they had to have people that actually knew each genre of music and what really the hot stuff was from each genre. And like the reggae and dub station literally just spins like the best dub like ever. There's an electro station, and they're playing like all these crazy underground electro groups that like you would only know if you were totally into the music and into the scene. So, and it goes on and on and on. The soundtrack's just as big as the prior games, but it's much more obscure unless you're into that genre of music. So I think it's really cool. I think it'll expose people to new kinds of music and the best of that kind of music, so that they could actually maybe seek it out and get into it.
Yeah, me bleach hard last night, you know. The sun come here, just hold on.
What?
All right, next up we have our old pal Grumpy McGrump. How's it going, man?
Yeah, off.
What's got you all torqued up today?
Well, actually, before I get into the grumpy and the dissing, I do want to congratulate one company. I want to pay big respect to Blizzard for telling Uwe Ball to off when it came to getting World of Warcraft. The fact that they laughed him out of their office, that guy is nothing more than a no-talent German sucking, pole-smoking, sausage-gobbling, franchise-killing buffoon.
How did that get out? Did Blizzard like release that there?
No, he actually released it himself. He seemed very proud that they laughed him out of their offices. But anyway, enough of that. Congratulations. Let's get back to bad stuff. Resident Evil 5.
We
Racist.
love Resident Evil 5. Eh?
Or is it? This is the question. Obviously, a journalist who I respect very much, I know you know him very well. Nguy Kroll of Newsweek was interviewed on an MTV site
Yes.
not so long ago, and he was talking about the trailer for Resident Evil 5 that came out last year. And he said, he said a few things that he was uncomfortable with it, and he had a couple of issues with the imagery that was going on there, which is fair enough. I mean, he's a very respected journalist. He knows his inside and out, and his don't stink as far as I'm concerned, and he's expressing an opinion. But now, of course, everybody's jumping on the bandwagon saying that Nguy thought this was racist, and the trailer is racist, or no, it isn't racist, so on and so forth. And, I actually did some research, and I know this is going to shock you. I actually researched the piece this week. I had a look around, and I saw some other stuff that actually I missed last year because it came out of E3. And actually, I found a couple of pieces. One on the Village Voice by some stupid bint called Bonnie Ruberg, who obviously does know video games from her clitoris.
I actually used to work with her.
You can tell us all about this friggin' Harridan. And then there's a couple of other places on there. But anyway, I just, it's just funny how everybody took what Nguy had to say, and he didn't say the game was racist. He didn't say the trailer was racist. What he said was he had some problems with the imagery, and that, it would strike close to home, especially here in the US. And I don't have a problem with that. I must admit, I watched the trailer for the first time, and I actually didn't see anything racist, but I think it's maybe because I'd worked on Black Hawk Down. And we had the same problem. And, but I mean, the way we got around it was, you were only allowed to shoot people with weapons who were shooting at you. I mean, it was the official rules of combat. You weren't allowed to shoot kids, you weren't allowed to shoot women, you weren't allowed to shoot men with, men without weapons. I mean, even if these...
But it was kind of the same deal, right?
Well, we didn't actually get much of a racist feedback on it because it was based on real-world events. Let's throw the question back. Resident Evil 4, that was set in Spain.
Yeah.
How many Spanish people got pissed off at being killed by Chris Redfield in Resident Evil 4?
black people have experienced things that other races have not experienced. You know, they were bound into slavery and by white people, so seeing this white person mowing down hordes of African people, it affects them differently than it would a Spanish person or,
I'm from Wales. All right, Welsh people, Scots, and the Irish were Celts. We were oppressed for thousands of years by the English. You know, I watch films like Braveheart, where, you know, oh, we're going to bring in the savages, we're going to bring in the Celts. Celts are always portrayed as these savages, and they're butchered left, right, and centre, even though they were oppressed. Do I cry racist for Braveheart? Do I cry racist for, for Robin Hood? I just want people to, you know, have a little bit of balance and perception when they're looking at these things. You know, maybe Capcom could have slightly tweaked the video, because to the untrained eye, to somebody who doesn't know the franchise, you don't realize that these guys, you know, all the villagers are under the sway of, you know, of the T-virus or whatever it's been replicated to in this installment. It's just annoying to me that I see people like, you know, this lady at Village Voice who basically, you know, spouts off some bollocks. Basically, she says it's Heart of Darkness meets PlayStation.
That's the problem with freelance journalists, though. They'll pitch, you know, a salacious article out there, and somebody will just pick it up because they think it's going to grab some eyeballs.
Yeah, unfortunately, I mean, I'm a big fan. If you're not researched, you should off. I mean, seriously, this Bonnie Rayburg can lick my sweaty ball crack as far as I'm concerned.
You have a ball crack?
I do, actually. I caught them in the door coming in to do this recording. But yeah, I mean, seriously, people like her don't know what's going on, and I think this is just the calm before the storm. I guarantee you that in 4 months' time, when Resident Evil does hit, we're gonna end up with poor Jeff Keighley back on Fox News again, trying to friggin' defend himself against a bunch of idiots who don't know their from their elbow when it comes to video games. You know, I mean, at this stage, I'm praying Capcom put swearing and nudity and full-on homosexual sex and lesbianism, all, and you know what? Babies on a stick. That's what I want. Babies on a stick in Resident Evil 5.
Let's actually take a quick roll call on that, because personally, I never saw anything wrong with that trailer either. I never even thought of it in that way until this article was written. So I would say no. I never looked at it that way. What about you, Daniel?
No, I actually, the thing that freaked me out the most about the trailers, because I actually have been to Africa. I've been to places that look just like that, feel just like that. And so, like, I kind of know, like, what that was like. And that was the freakiest thing to me. It's like, holy crap, this is, like, somewhere I've been, and this is, like, happening to me kind of thing.
What about you, Morales?
I really don't think that it's racist, because you don't see anything, you know, overtly racist with it. Like, you don't see Chris Redfield lynching someone.
What about you, Stevens? What did you think?
I was too blinded by him.
The game looking so awesome.
Yeah, the punch. Like, that
this
punch
is an
scene
audio
is so awesome.
podcast.
Like,
they can't see you punching.
well, we're
the
gonna
air.
show. I am punching the air.
Thank you.
But that scene is so awesome. It took me like 30 times before I even realized that sickle pops up right then, because the punch was so awesome.
But you know, just to go back to that whole thing about, you know, it's a very accurate representation of Africa, because I mean, you know what, this might actually bring home to a lot of people that there's a lot of nasty going down in Africa. There are villages with no food, no water. There are people who are infected, and you know what? If Capcom is smart, and this is, you know, my PR scumbag part rearing its ugly head. If Capcom is smart, I would turn around and say, you know what, we're going to use this to spread a message. And it's going to be, you know what, this shit is going on right now. It's not the T-virus, but it's Ebola, it's HIV.
Yeah.
You know, it's stuff going on in Darfur. It's genocide on a scale that, you know, let's face it, if these folks had oil, we'd be there. And like I said, mark my words, 6 months down the line, Jeff Keighley, Fox News, defending himself, this network, and video games in general, because he is the beacon that we all wish to be.
All right. Well, thank you for stopping by, Grumpy. As usual, some insightful commentary.
That's because I'm smart. Oh yeah, and I just want to say thanks to the person who said he wanted to shag me if I was female, but I'm not, so
Kind of a slow week this week, although there's been some big stories to certain kinds of people, I guess, in our industry. Kojima, the creator of Metal Gear Solid, was not necessarily dissing the PlayStation 3. He was just kind of talking about how Metal Gear Solid 4 never quite got to where his vision hoped it would go.
Well, I mean, abstractly thinking about this, the PlayStation hardware has always been really hard to work with. PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, and PlayStation 3. I remember reading about, for the PlayStation 1, they had made a pedal for developers so they could like pause their code and like break into stuff. But you always look at Generation 1 games versus final generation games, and there's such a big leap. And I don't know, Metal Gear's been in the works for so long that you got to wonder if like the front end of it's kind of slowing it down now.
Like, I can't really see a big difference between, like, 3rd-gen 360 games and 1st-gen 360 games.
But the PlayStation 3 is kind of a different beast, you know?
Well, that's the console where I figured I'd see it more than any other.
But that's only been a year and a bit, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I have to wonder, like, how much he's losing the opportunity to push things because, you know, they don't want to compress anything. You know, that's a big thing with Blu-ray. It's like, oh, you don't have to compress anything. So they didn't. You know, how much more could they have packed in there if they did compress some things?
And honestly, the game looks friggin' stunning. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't know what he's freaking out about. I mean, Metal Gear Online looks a little but Metal Gear Solid 4 I think looks awesome.
Well, Kojima's always been somewhat of a prankster. He's probably just trying to stir some up right now.
That's not really a funny prank when you're talking about $1 billion you're in the hole for investment.
Maybe that's funny in Japan.
All right, next we're going to talk about Retro Studios. Some news came out this week that the creators of the Metroid Prime series have lost a few employees, presumably to go start a new company. What do you guys think? Is it going to have any kind of an impact on Nintendo's first-party output? You think it's going to affect the overall quality of games coming out from Metro?
I don't know. I mean, Mark Pacini is one of the guys. He was one of the lead dudes on Metroid Prime, but I don't know overall if just 4 or 5 guys leaving are going to make that much of a difference.
I'm not so worried about the quality, more of the quantity.
Yeah, I mean, they put out like a
Squeeze
game
out
every
another
other
game.
year kind of thing, right? And so
Yeah, a Metroid game
Yeah.
every other year.
now they're having to brainstorm new ideas. I wonder if there's some creative differences on where to go next.
I mean, at the end of the day, they still have a ton of programmers who are obviously very talented, a bunch of artists that are obviously very talented.
Still some lead guys there. So
Yeah, I think it goes back to the you can buy the name but you can't buy the talent thing. So we'll see. We wish those guys well and whatever they move on to next. Hopefully it'll be something awesome, and we wish the Retro Studios guys best wishes as well. All right, next up, we're going to answer your questions in one of our favorite segments called On the His Hook. First up, Brooks, I think you have a question for us.
That's right. Newest Boom. He asks, could EA be gearing up to enter the console biz?
Well, I know that EA's big, but are they really that big to kickstart a whole console?
Dreamcast 2.
I don't know if it's a matter of them being that big. I just don't know if they would make enough money for them to really want to do it, you know?
I think they're too big. That's the problem. I
Yeah.
think they stand to make so much money off these 3 consoles that why would they ever limit their stuff to 1?
Okay, this one's from XZeno84. Do you feel that the increase in casual gamers will decrease the attention on hardcore gamers? And if so, do you consider this good or bad? Well, I think it can go both ways. First off, I don't really think that game companies, purposely set out to make, quote, hardcore or casual games. I think the hardcore and casual, communities that sprout from these games originate purely from the fans themselves, not the companies. Take Super Smash Brothers, for instance. I don't think anyone, with a super awesome fighting game, pedigree would argue that it's a deep fighter, but then again, there are people that say that there is, a huge hardcore community for it. Personally, I don't really think that the increase of, quote, casual gamers will decrease the attention on hardcore gamers because we pretty much draw those own lines ourselves.
Well, I definitely think there's a lot of companies right now trying to chase the casual goose egg, and you see stuff like Ninja Reflex out there.
I think the first example I've seen of that was Mario Kart.
Exactly, I was going to say that.
It's
They watered it down a little bit.
Dude, it's totally watered down, man, and it pisses me off. Like, I'm sorry, this is a game that we, as the hardcore gamers, have put Nintendo on the map buying games like Mario Kart. And it's a franchise we could always rely on to give us what we wanted and give it to us in spades. And now we have Mario Kart for the Wii, and it's like, every part of that game that I liked as a hardcore gamer was either tamed or cut. The funny part is, if you look back across all of Nintendo's other franchises, I think they did a really good job of finding that happy medium between making sure that we are happy with their games. Anyway, thank you very much for your letters. Keep them coming. We'll answer as many as we can on the show without going too overboard. All right, that's this week's show. As always, your interactions are very important to us. We want your questions, comments, suggestions, hate mail, whatever. Ryan, how can they get at us?
They can get at us with chocolates and roses, but they can also go to invisiblewalls.gametrailers.com, read our blog, like entries, send us private messages, leave comments. You can also send us electronic mail using the internet, and you can send that to invisiblewalls@gametrailers.com.
You can also send us gifts.
Yes, we can be bribed.
We'll take them, but we won't tell anybody.
Maybe the IRS.
Be sure to go onto iTunes and subscribe to the show if you like what you've heard and seen. We're here every Thursday on GameTrailers.com. We'll see you next week. Out.